Hey everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the AMC Movie News headquarters here in Burbank, California. And I was inundated yesterday with Cesar Romero pictures. Like, so many of them. It was crazy.
Also, here's AMC Movie News Senior Editor Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Better than the clown photos I'm often inundated with, so thank you.
Also, here is writer-director John Schnepp.
As all of you know, Amy Rose loves clown photos, so please continue to send them to her.
Especially,
Schnepp.
she has a lot of empathy for angry clowns.
Angry
so send her, like,
clowns.
angry clowns.
Or it, like it from...
demonic
like,
kind
hey,
of things.
I'm terrified of puppies. Oh my God, puppies.
Puppies with clown faces. Speaking of clown faces, the weirdest thing about the Cesar Romero Joker that always bothered me is that he had a mustache. Yet he would paint. He has a mustache, and he just paint that white too, which means he's even more insane.
Okay, you know what? I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it right now. I'll edit this in, but as I thought, maybe you hated clowns and scary things more than anybody else I'd ever known. I have always known that Maude Garrett.
Oh my
God.
Oh, man.
I have always known that Maude and Alicia both are both like terribly. They won't even watch horror movies. They just can't do it. Even trailer. I watched a horror trailer with Maude once, but even I did not fully grasp just how terrified of this stuff she is. So here, in the magic of editing, here, guys, take a look at this.
Because the Chucky when it came out, no,
He's
don't.
just over there.
Don't
There's a
do
guy
that
in a
to
Chucky
me.
costume.
Don't do
No,
that.
I'm that just happened. Wow. Has anyone got a needle from This is a real... I might have to take over. What's the show called? I'm hosting from now on. She's having an attack. You're crying. Is everything going to be okay? You really are crying.
And then jumped out at me last time. I thought it was a robot, and then jumped out and chased me.
You realise there's a camera on you, and this is going to be aired, though, aren't you? Wow. You know, I think we can talk about this. Let's get deep into the issue. What is it about that tiny Chucky man who's potentially going to scare you that makes you cry tears on camera?
I don't know. I think it's because it tried to kill me.
Well, he does have a knife. He's holding a knife.
I can't do this anymore.
Can someone dial 911? Is that it? Just to have them here. It's not to say that she's going to go to hospital.
Maude Garrett, ladies and gentlemen. Maude
Maude Garrett.
I mean,
It's a little guy in an outfit with a fake knife.
Hey, Chucky is scary, dude. I don't know that scary, but
seriously,
he's
there's this one time Maude and Alicia were like we're planning on doing something, and I remember they said they hadn't seen The Descent yet.
movie's so good. I love that movie.
Oh, you know what we gotta do? Why don't you guys come over and we'll watch The Descent?
You're
And they're
so
like,
mean.
No, and I didn't understand. Like I thought they were just kind of joking. It's like I can't handle. No, I can't watch scary movies. And anyway, there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it.
All right, let's actually. Oh, you know what? Before we get to all these lovely items here, a couple of movie trailers have dropped after we got the show notes written. So we should probably take a little bit of time and talk about these trailers. First up, the sequel to The Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials, has dropped and come out. And I'm going to tell you, I watched this trailer. First of all, I didn't know they were anywhere near ready to have a trailer come out.
Me either.
And I got to say, I watched the trailer, and you know what I really loved about it? It truly felt like a completely new chapter. This didn't feel just like another Maze Runner movie. It didn't feel anything like the first one, but it felt consistent with the first one, if you understand what I'm saying. And it felt like, okay, now that's behind us. Now we're moving on to this totally new thing. And I really did like the feel of it. The visual, the aesthetics of it, I thought looked very pleasing. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first Maze Trial, but I actually thought that movie was going to be terrible, and I didn't mind it, to be honest. But I thought this looked good. However, every time Littlefinger talks,
Come on, he's the best.
but every time he talks, I thought he was going to end every sentence with Sansa.
Or winter is coming.
You'll never survive out in the scorch. Sansa. Like I just expected that to come like every single second. But other than that, which I found a little bit distracting, but that's just in the trailer. I'm sure I won't be distracted by it in the movie. But overall, actually, I thought it was a pretty decent trailer, to be honest. Amy Rose, you saw it for the first time. What did you think?
Yeah, I did as well. I actually thought the first Maze Runner was much better than I expected. I went in with very low expectations. It probably helped that I saw it at the dine-in theater and I had a bunch of amazing food.
It's never
I was
bad.
like, this is the best. It makes every movie better. But I thought I hate that title. I think they're probably being, true to the book series. So I respect that, but I think that title is pretty horrendous. But the trailer itself it's a pretty bad title. But the trailer itself was fun. It was a good surprise. I think they really have compiled a bunch of really talented young actors, and that really helps anchor a film like this. And the young adult genre has really expanded. They deal with some pretty political and dark themes. And so I think it looks pretty good as a first take. But Littlefinger, never diss that Littlefinger.
So, I don't even think of Littlefinger. I just think of his role in The Wire. He was so great. I'll never forget. He's always going to be that to me. I didn't see The Maze Runner. I wasn't interested in seeing it at all from the trailers. A bunch of dudes running around.
Neither was I, to be honest.
And, you guys all said it was good. I still was like, And then I saw this trailer, and that kind of makes me now want to see The Maze Runner because I want to see this movie. This movie is the kind of science fiction film that I like. It looks like it has multiple levels to it, lots of layers. So it's interesting enough and well done enough that now I want to actually see The Maze Runner. I'll probably wait a week before this Scorched Trials comes out. Scorched Trials,
Trials.
Weird title. Yeah, you're right.
You know what? Take out Trials. Just call it Maze Runner the Scorch.
Yeah, that would be great.
Good
the
title.
Trials thing is like, just
You listening,
weird.
Fox? Just strike Trials.
Get rid of Trials. You'll make an extra $50 million. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Yeah.
All right. So that was not the only trailer that dropped. Another trailer dropped, and that's the new trailer for the upcoming Hugh Jackman film Pan, where Hugh Jackman plays Blackbeard. The first trailer came out, I guess, about a month and a half ago, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I was impressed by it. I liked it. I felt the magic of it. It did a really good job making me feel the magic of what a story like Pan could bring. And I thought this trailer was even better. I really did. I think, first of all, if I didn't know that was Hugh Jackman, I probably wouldn't guess that was Hugh Jackman. I mean, and that's just a testament to Hugh Jackman, I guess. But this feels, oddly enough, like maybe the most true adaptation of what Peter Pan is supposed to be that we've ever seen. This one didn't. The last one gave us a really good sense of the magic. This one gave me a good sense of the action as well. Although the one thing, I finally figured it out, in the first trailer when we get our first look at Hook, and I was like, are we really doing that thing again where the classic rivals at one point were friends and something bad's going to happen?
It's true to life, John.
I guess it's true to life. So we were clearly doing that. But there was something about Hook that was like, what is it? What is it? And then I watched this trailer and I got it. He's talking like Heath Ledger's Joker. Watch the trailer again, and he's totally talking like Heath Ledger's Joker. Like, just watch it again with that in mind, and you will not be able to
There's
hear
a line from Heath Ledger, and here we go. And I was like, who's saying that?
Yes!
Is that
Creepy.
Hook saying it? Because I said that earlier. I was like, they're ripping off the Joker. And it's like, oh,
And he's totally
just
talking like the Joker, too. Anyway, Shab, what do you think about the trailer?
I did. I liked it. There were some elements to it that I didn't like, but overall, I thought I liked the ship going through those giant water globules.
That was visually, that was pretty cool.
The massive alligator that is going to take his stupid hand off. I want to see the kid fly. The kid better fly. That's all I'm saying.
He said that before the cameras even started rolling today. He watched her, he's like, that kid better fly. That kid better fly.
Yeah, because this is like they're showing him like hop off a backflip. He's not going to just pancake on the ground. He's going to be floating around.
Well, if John Peters is producing this movie, he may not fly.
That's possible. I don't know if John Peters is involved in this, so it's very possible that he will fly. But yeah, you know what? It looked really fun, and there was like some moment in the middle of it that almost looked like they were fighting but dancing at the same time.
Breakdance fighting!
Yeah.
So it looks like it has a lot of really cool kind of surreal moments to it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Amy Rose?
I'm also really looking forward to it. I think it's beautiful. It is reminiscent of Hook, but bigger and better. I know some people didn't like Hook as much as I did.
I adored Hook.
Good.
I really,
you didn't,
especially
right?
visually the style.
I hated Hook.
Oh, it hurts still today. But that was a huge, Rufio. It's a huge part of my childhood, and I think it was just magical and fantastical, and I feel like this is reminiscent, but on a much larger scale. Hugh Jackman, that's the role of a lifetime. Wolverine, Blackbeard, like he is just having the best time of his life.
He's doing so
And
good.
it feels like a really classy, colorful, fun production. production. And like, we don't have a lot of adventures these days. So I'm really excited about it.
All right, let's get on to the first official topic today.
All right. As many of you know, DC is gearing up for a live-action version of The Flash set to hit AMC theaters on March 23rd, 2018. The film will star Ezra Miller and is being developed by the Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street team Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Many have speculated that since there is a successful TV series for The Flash, with Grant Gustin playing the Barry Allen Flash, that the movie will have Ezra Miller playing either the Wally West or Jay Garrick versions of The Flash. Not so, says Phil Lord, who said in a recent interview that Ezra Miller will indeed be playing Barry Allen. John, are you surprised that Lord and Miller are using Barry Allen instead of another version of The Flash?
No, I'm not surprised by it at all, because when you think about the Flash or a lot of these comic book characters, sometimes people who are comic book readers, comic book fans, they'll call for or want a different variation of who the character is, a secondary person who played it, whether it's, some people want Jon Stewart instead of Hal Jordan. Some people want this instead of that. And I get it, but you have to keep in mind, when you talk about Barry Allen, granted, not a lot of people in the general public know any of the aliases of the Flash anyway, granted. But if you're going to say, which one is probably the most well-known amongst average movie-going fans, even without the hit TV series, it's probably Barry Allen. That's probably who most people might associate with it, and therefore there's value in going in that direction with it. Plus, let's be honest here, it doesn't matter if they went with Wally West or Jay Garrick or whoever, because they're going to make their Flash movie the way they're going to make it, and who the alias is was not going to affect what they were going to do anyway. So if they called him Jay Garrick, it was going to be the exact same movie anyway. So it's not really all that important. What I do think is interesting, though, is that this kind of puts an explanation point on what DC and Warner Brothers has been saying all along. Our TV and movie universes are not crossing over. There was some speculation by some people, and even though I'm one of those guys who I totally believe they're not crossing over, I believe what they're saying. There was this theory that, what if in the movie they do a Wally West Flash, and then there's like a multiple Earth thing where this, in the one, Barry Allen was the Flash, and this one, Wally West. Now they're both Barry Allen. They're two totally different guys. So I think this kind of puts an exclamation point on the fact that what Warner Brothers has been saying all along, we're not going to get the TV and the movie universe crossing over, which I think is the smart thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do, the way they're handling it. So other than that, yeah, I like what I'm hearing, and it kind of makes sense. Anyway, Amy Rose, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. It's why they keep doing Peter Parker and not the other incarnations of, Spider-Man. Like, it's the quintessential identity of what people think of. And while I would like to see a little diversity, studios want to bank on what's the safest bet. So it's not a surprise. I completely trust their vision here. I mean, Lord and Miller, they've not let us down yet, even with obscure properties like Lego, where we're like, what? It was so charming and wonderful and clever, and it was one of the best movies last year.
And Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah.
I mean, good heavens, they've even crushed that.
They're just so good. And 21 Jump Street, I mean, they really just know how to make great characters, period. And Ezra Miller, I mean, he has been one of my favorite actors in the last few years. From We Need to Talk About Kevin to The Perks of Being a Wallflower, this guy can do anything. So the combination of these three together, I'm really excited. And I do agree with you that I think TV universes and film universes, while I understand the appeal of making it so big for the fans, I think that just the fact that film is more contained. It's 2 hours. It's this. And TV shows are weekly, and it's a lot to tie up. I rather have the film universes and TV personally separate. I think it's the right move.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the TV universes are the soap opera version, the more comic book version, where they're like a monthly episode that you read. And the movies are the big, you got to wait 2 years to watch a 2-hour epic. So it's kind of exciting. I don't mind that there's two Barry Allens. This just kind of reinforces not only that the TV and movie universes are separate, but that they eventually could do like a Crisis on Infinite Movie Worlds or whatever. And because these are the guys who are the ones that are able to bridge both universes. The Flash, either one of the Barry Allens are going to be able to bridge the universe and go to the other side, either the TV or the movie world, and be like, there's something coming, and then he turns into a skeleton or whatever. That'd be kind of cool. And, that could be a good point for when, in 10, 15 years, when the DC cinematic universe wants to reboot, they can do their Crisis on Infinite whatevers, and just reboot and merge everybody and explode everyone. And here's a brand new, super plasma unit that you watch when you put over your face, So, plasma unit for sale, $4,000.
And talking about the crossing the movie and the TV universes, I think one of the one of the many reasons that Daredevil is so much better than, say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Whereas Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., everything feels so convoluted and oftentimes forced to, like, look, we're in the same universe as the Avengers. Oh, metal men are destroying our city. It's like, just feels forced and awkward and tying their hands, all that kind of stuff. Right. You look at Daredevil, right? Daredevil puts up a newspaper clipping in the back where you see the Leviathan on the ground. Or another something on the wall in the background where you see the Hulk, but it doesn't actually say Hulk. Daredevil, while coming out and saying, okay, this is the same universe, because see, that happened, never mention anything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all. They keep themselves completely separate, completely free, doing their own narrative. And I think that's one of the many reasons why Daredevil was so much better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But now we're talking TV.
But I would really like to see a film with Vincent as Kingpin because, wow. He was so amazing in Daredevil.
Give me 12 more episodes of him as Kingpin, and I'm happy.
I think you got it. They got there at season 2.
Yeah, I mean,
such a good show.
Crush it. All right, what's next?
According to reports, Mad Max Fury Road director George Miller already has a story and a title for the next Mad Max film, which he says will be called Mad Max: The Wasteland. The title is a contradiction from reports in 2010 that claim Miller had decided the Fury Road follow-up film would be called Mad Max Furiosa, a title we now know is a reference to the character played by Charlize Theron. Reports from the set claim that Tom Hardy and Theron constantly clash on the set of Fury Road, which Theron has since confirmed. Schnepp, is this change of title a result of those on-set clashes, or do you think we could see a Furiosa spin-off and standalone film?
I think both. I mean, I think The Wasteland, just because they changed the title, doesn't really necessarily mean that Charlize is not going to be in it. She's the highlight of Fury Road. I mean, it's a Mad Max movie, but he's almost an ancillary character. So, but when you think about it, all of the Road Warrior movies, he's always been kind of a drifter that's been told through someone else's perspective. So, hopefully they continue that. And someone else will be like, I ran across a beaten up dude, he's with this lady with a metal arm, who knows? I mean, they could also do Mad Max, The Wasteland, and just a separate movie called Furiosa at this point. I mean, it all depends on how big of a hit this film keeps, if it generates way more money the second, third, fourth weekend, if it's like The Kingsman, it's one of those kinds of things. I like the title The Wasteland.
One of the things, though, you and I, before we started filming the show, we were looking at these behind the scenes videos, how they do stunts. But here's the thing. Okay, the reports of Tom Hardy and Theron clashing, man, when you really sit back, this wasn't shot on the Warner Brothers lot. This wasn't shot in the middle of Burbank with a soundstage and everything. It's like, okay, done. All right, bring over the fresca and then we'll go hang out by the pool. They shot this. I can't even pronounce the name of the country. Like
Namibia.
Namibia, yes. They shot in the middle of the desert. What I said to Schnepp is that place where civilization crawled out of and left. They went there to shoot that movie, and they were there for 5 months,
I
6
think
months,
longer.
something
They were
like that.
2-month reshoot. You're like, no, kill me now.
In the desert, in the heat, and you're going to get on each other's nerves at some point. The first thing that did cross my mind was that, they're making a change because these two can't get along. But you know what? After watching Fury Road, I'd be totally down for a Furiosa standalone film. I totally would. I think that would be great. And it would be kind of neat to see if they can, look, first Mad Max Fury Road has to break even. Let's get there first. But if it can and then make some money, I would love to see almost like not to have a shared cinematic universe, but I'd love to see a Mad Max movie and a Furiosa movie. That would actually be kind of cool. Anyway, Amy Rose, what do you think?
Well, first off, I really want a guitar flamethrower. That was amazing.
We need that at the front of the desk of AMC Movie News
right now.
constantly.
Thanks in advance. It was Furiosa's movie. I mean, you nailed it. Like, while Mad Max, Tom Hardy was barely in it compared to Charlize. And there's no complaints because it all worked together to be this beautiful desert dance of mayhem, as I like to call it. And
That's a great description.
Thanks for that. It was one of my favorite films of the year so far. It was the most fun I've had. And it really was her story. And I love the sensibilities that Miller did to bring it to modern days, to things that are very relevant today. But I just never like hearing about two fantastic actors like them who don't get along. Sort out your differences. This film was amazing, and continue, because all the components together made it what it was. So I think it was Furiosa's movie. Would I like to see more of the backstory? Sure, but I think Miller's really good at that. And I mean, Road Warrior was the best of the last series, so it'd be interesting to see where it goes from here, but I just want more. And I do think it's going to make a lot more money. It already made $1 million more than Pitch Perfect internationally. And
it opened in more markets than Pitch Perfect did, too.
And 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, like one of the best rated films of all time right now. Wow. So word of mouth is going to keep, seeing this movie because I'm going to see it again.
See, that's why I think, Ellis brought up a good point. He said, the thing is next week, Tomorrowland opens, and that's going to be a big draw. But I still think because of word of mouth, I think we're going to see less than that traditional 50% drop. I think it'd make 40. I think it'll make 44. I think it'll make north of 22. And if it can hold that and be one of those Kingsman, like you're saying, where it just hangs around in the top 5 for like 5 or 6 weeks.
Number 3, number 4, number 3.
Yeah,
I
think it can do better ultimately than its opening weekend suggested. So let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Star Wars The Force Awakens screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan was asked in a recent interview about if we could see Lando Calrissian appear in the film. The writer flatly denied that we'd see Lando pop up in Episode 7. However, he quickly followed that up by saying the following: "But Lando, I don't think is finished in any way, shape, or form." Amy Rose, buy or sell that we will see Lando Calrissian back in a Star Wars movie once again?
Oh, that Lawrence loves to play with us, doesn't he? I buy it. Lando is one of those quintessential Star Wars characters that everyone loves, and he doesn't even have to be a big part of it. Just to weave him in would make us so happy. There's actually a picture of him in a great dive bar in Hollywood, and I can always sort out the worthy nerds because most guys don't know who that is in there. I'm like, come on. But yeah, I don't think Lando's storyline is done. In this case, I don't think it's misdirection. I do think we'll see it, just not in Episode 7, I would guess.
Chip?
Yeah, well, they should bring him back in Episode 8, Why not?
Yeah.
I want to find out how he lost the Millennium Falcon, That's what that picture looks like. He's about to lose the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, I'd love to see Lando, even in a cameo role, so.
I think we're going to see him come back but if we do, I think it will be like in Episode 8. What I don't want is a young Lando, because we saw young Lando. Yeah. We already saw him. Same reason why I don't want a young Han Solo movie. We've seen young Han Solo. Anything now you do is going to feel jarring to it. But Episode 8, where he's like a delegate or something like that. Man, I'm telling you something. I saw him on Billy D. Williams on an episode of Modern Family last year. And that guy's voice is still as smooth as it's ever been. Like if that guy and he's like, what is it? How about some Colt 45? If he came in and said, "Hey John, how about you let me have your pants?" I'd probably do it. Like he's that smooth. So I think there's a good 50-50 chance we might see him in Episode 8.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Lionsgate has released its first image and announced that shooting has started for their new film, Deepwater Horizon. The film stars Mark Wahlberg, Kurt Russell, John Malkovich, Gina Rodriguez, and Kate Hudson. The project is described as follows. Deepwater Horizon is based on the true events that occurred on an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico on April 20th, 2010. The story chronicles the courage of those who worked on the Deepwater Horizon and the extreme moments of bravery and survival in the face of what would become one of the biggest man-made disasters in world history. John Byer saw the sounds of Deepwater Horizon.
It's actually a really big buy for me. I like everything about this. I like this cast. I'm a sucker for these true life stories about these incredible events that happen, whether it be incredibly positive or incredibly negative. I just really like the feel of this. So for me, it's a huge buy. Schnepp?
I don't know. I'm gonna sell it. I just don't like the image of people covered in oil. I hate the idea of like this oil damage and making a movie about it. Just clean up the oil damage first and then make a movie. It's still seeping around and stuff. I don't know. It just bugs me.
I'm with you. It's a sell for me. I am a history buff, but this is a part of history I don't think we should document. This was a really horrendous, awful thing that we created.
Yeah, it's gross.
So I don't need to see it. The cast is great. It could prove to be a great story and on the big screen. But for now, that image, I'm like, no.
Man, I don't know. I feel like you guys are missing the point on this.
No, we get it.
Even the myth of great history, there can be stories of great human courage. Like, I mean, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about. about the story at all. I'm going to be going into this completely blind, but I mean, like if there's some guy who like single-handedly in the midst of this horrendous, terrible thing that's going on saves like 20 people's lives
that we caused ourselves.
But whatever. That's not
I
him
know.
that did it.
It's not.
You guys are so pessimistic. All right, what's next?
As many of you know, a new reboot of the iconic Friday the 13th series is on the way from Michael Bay's Platinum Dunes production company. Reports had surfaced earlier that the new film would be a found footage movie, while later reports denied it. Now producer Brad Fuller has revealed that the project was indeed targeted to be a found footage film, but no longer. In an interview with Shock Till You Drop, Fuller said the following: "That was a road of found footage style that we went down and tried to figure out. Ultimately, I think Michael, Drew, and I felt that we couldn't figure that out, so we kind of jettisoned that whole notion, and we had to start over. We're in the latter phases of that starting over, and hopefully we're getting a script in the next month or two, and we'll go back to Crystal Lake." Schnepp, buy or sell the new Friday the 13th not being a found footage film?
Well, I buy that. I'll buy that for $1. I think it was that guy Fuller who I read like a couple months ago was like, yeah, we're going to be investigating the found footage angle and all this other stuff. I remember going off like, come on, how hard is it to make a found footage Friday the 13th movie? In fact, don't do it. It's stupid. It's like already kind of a tired idea, the found footage thing. And it's like, I don't know. To me, Friday the 13th, just get back to Crystal Lake. I think it was either Ellis or Harloff was like saying like, put a 70s spin on it, make it like real crunchy and kind of like a gross low budget film.
Crunchy.
Yeah, so that's what Friday the 13th should be. Maude Garrett should be the first person to see Friday the 13th, and I want to film her reaction, her crying when Jason's like running after a kid, but hire a really tiny Jason.
Amy Rose?
I'm in for that. Yeah, when I first hear found footage, I never really get excited. It doesn't mean it can't work. We saw Chronicle, we saw even Project Almanac. It kind of surprised me. I wasn't looking forward to it. It can be done, but I don't think that's the way to go generally. But with horror films, if it's done right, it really builds tension and suspense. But for something like this, first of all, I don't want another Friday the 13th. I'd rather you explore new concepts. Look at It Follows. That was kind of reminiscent of old horror films, and it works so beautifully well. So I think they're on the right track, at least to abandon this, but either go back to why it was so scary in the original or figure something else out.
Well, the director is from VHS, which was a found footage film. So I mean,
it can work, but
there might be some elements of found footage that they're still going to try to do. Like, we found this tape from 1973. It's, the Jason Chronicles.
Chucky's on it.
Yeah, or something like that. But, Friday the 13th is a great horror series, and it can be really done well. I like the reboot that they had, like, in 2009. Yeah. And it's 6 years. But it's like, how hard is it to make a Friday the 13th movie? It boggles my mind.
Schnepp for director. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to buy this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I buy that they're not going to do found footage. I'm so sick of found footage. Now, yes, every once in a while you'll get a Chronicle or something like that where it works, granted, but generally speaking, I'm just over the found footage stuff. But the other reason I buy this too is this, and hold on to your hats, folks. I'm going to say something positive about Michael Bay. What I really do like about this is that I think there's a lot of creative people in Hollywood that once they get their idea, come hell or high water, they're going to push their idea through and they're going to go with it. Michael Bay was originally, with his Platinum Dunes production company, was going to make the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles a bunch of aliens. That clearly didn't work. And he showed that, you know what? Then let's change direction. And they actually ended up giving me a movie I kind of liked. You liked it too, with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now they were going to go found footage with Friday the 13th. I'm actually encouraged by the fact that the producer's saying, we all looked down, we tried to make it work, and it's not working. A lot of people in this town would just say, doesn't matter, make it happen anyway. And they're going, you know what? We recognize it's not working. Let's go in another direction. That doesn't mean this movie's going to be any good. It might be, it might not be, but I do respect the people in this town who can look at something that was their idea and go, you know what? It's not working. Let's change direction. So I really like that.
With a franchise, I feel like they have to be a little more careful, though.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And that's both the case with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Friday the 13th. Yeah. All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. So, Ashley, what's in the mailbag today?
Galad Levine writes, "Hey guys, love the show. Do you think we could ever see a Stardust sequel or another film taking place in that universe? Thanks and keep up the great work."
I frickin' love Stardust.
We know you do, John.
I frickin' love Stardust so much. And no, I don't think we're ever going to see a sequel to it. The first one didn't do bad financially. Nowhere near as many people saw it as this movie deserved to see it. But if you saw the film, I'm not going to give spoilers away, it ends.
Yeah.
I mean, it ends. And the great thing about this thing, yes, the world was great, but it's not about the world. It was about these characters. They made such great, awesome characters. And this movie ends. There's nowhere left to go. You could go back and make a completely different story in that sort of same world, but it's totally not going to be the same. It's going to be completely different at that point. So I really don't think we will see a Stardust sequel, and it wasn't popular enough to warrant it anyway. And I don't think there should be one. So anyway, Amy Rose, what do you think?
Yep, same sentiments. I enjoyed it more than I expected as well. I thought it was a really fun world, great characters, but it was contained. It really was.
Yeah.
And there was nowadays, they always leave the door open just in case it's a hit or whatever. And that can go in either direction. But yeah, I don't need to see it. I don't want to see it. Just go rewatch the original.
Yeah, I want to see a sequel called Stardusted. It's like this kid, he's a rapper. He eats way too much really old gum. Like he finds a bunch of gum from the 30s.
I was
and he just
in until
eats
that
it.
part.
It's like powder in his mouth. Starts crying and then he tries rapping and little angels show up. I love the first Stardust. I don't want to see a sequel.
Somebody make me a poster of that movie. Stardusted of what he was just explaining. All right, what's next?
Greg Voigt writes, hey
Angels
guys,
appear.
what is the most deliberately deceptive marketing campaign you have ever seen? Not bad marketing campaigns like Edge of Tomorrow, but campaigns that were meant to make people believe the movie was something other than it was to get people to see a movie.
There are lots of films that are mildly guilty of this. I can't remember which Mission Impossible, whether it was 2 or 3, but the one with Anthony Hopkins. I mean, so that one was you watch the trailer to that Mission Impossible, half of that trailer is Anthony Hopkins. Either his voice or him on screen. That's why it's not mission difficult, Mr. Hunt. It's Mission Impossible.
It's number 3, I think.
Is it 3? It's either 2 or 3, yeah. And he's in the movie for 2 scenes, for a minute at the beginning and a minute at the end. Deceptive. But the most truly egregious example of this I have ever seen with a film is actually a Disney film, and I adore our friends at Disney. But The Bridge to Terabithia was the most deceptive ad campaign I have ever seen. The irony is, it's quite a good movie, The Bridge to Terabithia. But here's the thing. You watch the ads to The Bridge to Terabithia, you think you're getting a Chronicles of Narnia, kind of mixed with a little bit of Harry Potter, kind of mixed with, you watch a trailer and say, oh, it's a movie about this fantasy land. These 2 little children find this fantasy land, and it's about their adventures in this world of fantasy. It has nothing to do with that. It's about death and loss. And it's a completely different, darkly toned, very good movie, ironically, but it is a totally different film from the ones that the marketing department at Disney presented us. It is by far, to me, the most egregious, guilty example of deceptive marketing I've ever seen. Amy Rose, what stands out to you about some misleading marketing?
Godzilla. I thought Godzilla would be in the movie.
Good one. Yeah.
Movie called Godzilla.
No, it's true. It was 4 seconds of Godzilla, and every time there was about to be some action, it would cut away to a kid watching it on TV eating chips or something. Where you're inside look, the nurses are changing some kids' diapers. I remember I was like, where's Godzilla? Why are you cutting away from Godzilla? And they did it 8 times. That's when I just stopped liking the film. The 8th time. I know he broke the creature's mouth open and breathed fly. It was that was cool. That was a little too late.
But it was 15 minutes of cool in a 2-hour movie.
It could have been. Well, I was even saying just 4 minutes more of the monster would have just made that film.
Just 4 little minutes.
For me, obviously, everyone knows I'm going to crack on Amazing Spider-Man 2, the trailer, and then what we got was Batman and Robin. But, an interesting one is The Counselor. I'll bring that up as far as great trailers, an incredible cast, an amazing writer, a fantastic director. And then what happened to this movie? It's garbage. It's horrible. It's an endurance test to even sit through.
Gangster Squad, same thing.
Yeah.
Ruben Fleischer, Zombieland. I was he is making all his, cast members watch the best gangster films of all time. And then, wasted such a cast.
I wouldn't call those deceptive, though, because
I thought the trailers looked amazing.
Trailers that make it look good and ends up being bad, but they were trailers for that movie.
No,
you know?
but I
unlike
mean-
a Bridge of Terabithia,
But
which
it was selling
totally
something
different.
else, I thought.
But I
that's
thought
true.
Counselor, that it was deceptive because they made it seem like one kind of a movie, and then when
Yeah.
you watch it,
Yeah, it
it's
was Counselor,
totally
right.
a different film and boring and horrible. So it was
Yeah.
like, I don't even know. I'd have to rewatch that trailer. What is it exactly that they deceptively tricked me into thinking that this would be a good movie? So
And your Godzilla example is a really good one too, because it's much like that Anthony Hopkins example. It's like, look, Godzilla's in the trailer, Rah! But he's not in the movie.
not really. You're going to watch people walk around and talk about stuff for a really long time.
Hey, folks, listen, not only do we like taking your questions via email, we love taking your questions via Twitter as well. So if you've got a Twitter account, tweet out some questions to us, and just make sure you include the hashtag AMC Movie Talk. That way it comes to us when we actually see it. So, Ashley, what is in the Twitter sphere?
Belinda Boo writes, we haven't had a good Swords and Sandals movie in a while. Could a Spartacus remake work? I mean, the TV show was pretty good.
Yes. And I'm like, let's put aside the TV show for a second. And I love the TV show. It was actually, despite the fact that the first 3 or 4 episodes were some of the worst TV I've ever seen in my life, it became probably one of my top 10 favorite television shows. But that original Spartacus movie with Kirk Douglas, that I think would translate very well today into today's era. And I think it would work great. So I would be all for it.
Yeah, well, Belinda, I think a good sword and sandal movie that you should see is Paul Verhoeven's Flesh and Blood. It's an 80s film with Rutger Hauer and a bunch of other scumbags looting and pillaging and being basically evil, and it's really gratifying and satisfying to see this horrible carnage brought to you in blood and towels with Paul Verhoeven's flavor. Yes. Also see Rome. That's another amazing HBO series that they did great. I would love to see Spartacus. I would love to see big action adventures that are, based on reality or based on fantasy. Warcraft is half sword and sandal and sorcery. So,
that's part of the reason why I have, that Angelina Jolie has been trying a long time to get that damn Cleopatra to be done. But that's part of the reason why I'm actually down with it. It's like, give us that. That could be really cool. Anyway, Amy Rose, what do you think?
Fascinating time in history. I actually didn't watch the Spartacus show. I've seen the movie, of course, and that movie is amazing. I love just the era because it's raw, it's brutal, and that says a lot about me, but whatever. But it's hand-to-hand combat. It's just like legacies and dynasties, and it's really exciting, and I would love to see more of it done right. It can really fall to the wayside if done incorrectly, but I'm glad that you didn't give up on the show like you do sometimes, watching 3 and then it became one of your favorites. That's really good.
You know, the only reason I stuck with it is because a really good friend of mine, an actress by the name of Erin Cummings, she was actually in a movie that I did, and she was in Bitch Slap, and she's been in a bunch of very popular TV shows, but she played Spartacus's wife. And it's like, Dennis and I were the same thing. We're watching that show. It's like, man, this show just sucks, but Erin's in it, so I'm going to hang in there. Man, am I ever glad we did.
Good.
Because it just turned into some of the best television I'd ever seen. Cool. All right, what's next?
Samuel Pole writes, do you think that the success of Mad Max Fury Road will usher in a new age for practical effects?
Nope. No, it's, a new age of practical effects for all car action? Sure, in the middle of the desert? Sure. But really, when you sit back and look at it, there's not a lot of digital effects to be done in a movie like that. It's all cars and vehicles and very physical in the middle of the desert. There's really not much else to do. I still kind of laugh a little bit at the over-romanticization of this whole notion of get back to practical effects. It's like, okay, that's cool in the right kind of movie where you don't need it. But sometimes practical effects can look really bad too, depending on, or they're very limiting in that kind of stuff. So I think what Mad Max Fury Road does is it proves you can still do like the traditional classic kind of movie. But remember, there weren't a lot of special effects that were required. I guess they could have had fake fire coming out of the guitars. They could have, but why? There's no reason to do that. It worked perfectly great.
Do it for real.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, Flea, get it, Flea. It was totally
that wasn't Flea, was it?
It felt like him.
Oh my gosh.
It reminded me of Flea. I was like, this is amazing.
If it turned out that was Flea, I'll lose my mind. That would be kind of cool. I don't know. What do you think, Schnapp?
I like the combination of practical and digital. I mean, that's the world we live in now, and you could over rely on CGI, which like a lot of films like Men in Black 2 and 3, a lot of just films that just came to my mind. It was like, oh, they just really, if they even half built that as a set, it would have been 1,000 times better. Or you could go in the realm of like trying to say that practical effects are better than CGI, which they're not. I mean, practical effects are not cost worthy. I mean, it's like you can get 10 people for like, 30 grand to make these incredible CGI effects, or you have to get 100 people to build everything from scratch and buy the supplies. It's incredibly more expensive to build these kinds of practical effects. That's why there aren't that many practical effects anymore. You really have to think about it. It's like CGI has gone above and beyond now, where we can almost reach that uncanny valley of duplicating humans, on screen, let alone cars and all these other. Yeah, I mean, so, I think practical effects are great, and they still, feel real, because that's, we haven't been able to trick the human eye just yet perfectly, but we're so close to it. It's like melding the two is the way to do it.
And I thought there were, other than the mountain and the water, I thought like out in the desert with the car stuff, I thought there were no digital effects.
There's a ton.
But there are actually a ton. I was reading an interview with Charlize Theron, and she's talking about where they'd set up the green screen and stuff like that. It's like, but that's a great example of what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect blending of practical with digital to make this overall visual experience look fantastic. Anyway, Amy Rose.
It should be seamless. There should be no beginning
Yes.
or end. It should not take you out of the picture. We talked about Hunger Games catching fire, like with the cornucopia. It was beautifully done, and we know as a combination. There's always going to be directors like Nolan who like practical effects. There's always going to be people like Nolan and Paul Thomas Anderson who like shooting on film versus digital. There's always going to be both. So that's really exciting from our perspective, the consumers, because you get it all. But Mad Max, I don't think it would have been as such like an eye explosion if it wasn't a good amount of practical effects.
Yeah,
because you were just watching it and you're just going, what? It was like so much. I want to see it again, talking about it all day today. But yeah, I think there's always going to be both, and I want it seamless as well. There are some things budget wise, you just need to make it digital, but there are other things that I really like seeing the rawness and the grit and the actors really going for it. That's exciting.
All right. Do we have another one? One more.
Clay TZ writes, what is a guilty pleasure movie you would like to see a sequel to?
All right, I got two that I always fall back to, so bear with me for this. Number one is a film that probably next to none of you have seen. Megaforce. Megaforce is kind of a rip on the G.I. Joe like toys and everything before there was ever a G.I. Joe movie. And the leader of Megaforce, of course, is a guy who just goes by the name of Ace, who wears a headband and a beard and a tight leather thing, and it's this international, battle group with, high-tech motorcycles and buggies with all these weapons, and it's life is like a wheel. It all comes around. So I would love to see one from Megaforce. I just thought it was so cool. I don't know if you can do one now in the age of G.I. Joe, but I would love that. It's so cheesy and bad. The other one, my number one thing, a sequel to a movie that I have never gotten and probably never will get, that I totally desperately want. Ben Stiller, William H. Macy, Hank Azaria, Gene Garofalo, Paul Rubens, Mystery Men. I want another Mystery Men. Give me the Shoveler and the Blue Raja and the Bowler and Mr. Furious. And I want one so bad. I feel like Maude Garrett. I'm going to cry. I want one so bad to that. So anyway, that's the one for me. Amy Rose, what about you? What are some sequels you really wish they would have done?
That's always a tough call because Godfather 2, there's a couple of films, sure, that have surpassed and that are really good, but for the most part, sequels are just not as good as the original. They have different motivations. That's why I really like what Alex Garland was saying about 28 months later, like coming up, because he's really all about the concept in the film. There's a couple mostly comedies I think are good because there's less fear. Like Super Troopers would be fun to revisit the characters.
I think they are, aren't they?
And,
they're doing Super Troopers. They are.
That's exciting because it's not really about the plot as much as the characters. Yeah. So I feel like those are the kind of films, because those cops are ridiculous. Yeah. Taste like schnozberries. Like that movie is just hilarious. So I feel like comedies, other than the Hangover 2 treatment, which sucked, that is a little better than banking on just the motivations of the sequel. Mostly it's monetary gain. It's not necessarily just for the fans. So I'm sure more would come to mind, but comedies are safe.
Schnepp, what would you like to see us?
I'm going to say Buckaroo Banzai would be a really fun. I'm going to just go with films that just didn't make a lot of money but should have gotten a sequel. And since they're making sequels to like Mad Max, that was 30 years ago, it's time to make Crawl 2. Crawl 2. I'll go with Zardoz, make a sequel to that. Get someone else to slap on that weird outfit that Sean Connery was wearing and go telekinesis and have a lot of nudity. Let's see, maybe Outland. We're going with Sean Connery. Do an Outland.
I was going to say Outland.
There's a whole bunch of these great one-offs, one and done films that, we were talking about Stardust and like making a sequel to that. There are so many of these films that were like on that cusp of sequelitis that now every movie that comes out, somebody's like, I've got an entire world I've built the video game for, and all this, everyone's world built their entire film. You go back to the 80s and there's like a million films that just could instantly have a sequel. The Goonies 2, where's that?
Well,
No, there was some talk about that. Hey, I just want to point out that Furiosa's face is covered in oil and grease.
Yeah.
He's on the
I know,
poster.
but that's Charlize Theron.
Charlize can do anything
You
she
do
wants.
make an exception for that. You absolutely do. Well, hey, folks, listen, before we go, we have a little bit of an announcement to make. So I'll let her do it, but I'll set up the context. So the other day, Amy Rose and I often, we'll get together and go over the highlights, what's going on, take a big picture of what's going on in AMC Movie News. And for those of you who are fairly new to us, for a long time, AMC Movie News was me, Dennis, and Amy Rose. I mean, it was just the three of us doing things. So anyway, a couple weeks ago, Amy Rose comes into my office and she tells me this. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Sean. No pressure at all.
That was a bad setup. That was not nearly as good as it was in my head. It sounded way better in my
It's
head.
because you're getting choked up.
Yes.
We've seen some notes about it, and it's true. I have resigned from AMC, which is really sad and heartfelt because, as John said, it's literally been Dennis and I, and then we brought in Mr. Schnepp, and it's been the OGs, and this has been my baby for the last almost 4 years.
Yeah.
But I've spent the last pretty much decade working at studios and working here and writing about all these films, but I want to create myself. I have a lot to say, and I want to create impactful, important films. And a lot of you don't know how much I do behind the scenes, other than coming soon and AMCI and being on here, but it's just, you get a point in your life where you have to create that opportunity, and I'm so grateful, and I'm like really sad, and really, it's just a lot of emotions coming up, but I'm not going anywhere. Where I love everything. I'm so grateful for the opportunity and for everything we've built. I'm so damn proud of this.
Yeah.
But it's sad, and I'm going to miss you guys so much. But I'm really excited, and I'm launching a company called Radiant Jane Productions, and I have a lot of projects in the works that I'm going to work on, and I hope to have them maybe play in AMC one day. So thanks for all your love and support. I literally wouldn't have stayed here without my family as AMC and all you incredible fans who've just been so supportive and so amazing, and it really means the world to me, and more to come.
Yeah, Amy Rose came in and she told me that, it's time for her to pursue her dreams. And, as much as it sucks and I hate it, one of the things I told her, I said, out of any of the excuses, you could come in here and tell me why you're leaving. That's pretty much the best damn one you could do to pursue it and do it. And you're going to start things off by going to Asia for like 6 weeks.
So I'm going to China, Japan, Thailand, Bali, and Vietnam for 6 weeks. So I literally haven't had a vacation in 10 years. So I'm going to go let my hair down and live, because that's what life's all about. And then I'm going to come back and create some important content.
Yeah. So you're going to see Amy Rose. First of all, she's not gone yet. She's still around here till the end of the month. And we'll probably have a little party near the end. So it's, like I said, it's for a very long time, it was just Dennis, me, and Amy Rose. And I remember when we were looking for somebody, it was just me and Dennis for a bit, because we had Roth Cornett with us. And then, we needed somebody to fill that spot. And we looked at it and thought about it and we interviewed. But really, it always came back to Amy Rose Eisenbach is the person we need here. And we did that years ago. And the rest is history. And it's true. Like a lot of people, you see her on AMC New Spotlight. You see her on Coming Soon every once in a while. But people don't get how much behind the scenes Amy Rose has been doing for AMC Movie Talk and movie news in general for the last number of years. And that's where we're really, we're going to miss her in AMCI. We're going to miss her in Movie Talk, but you guys won't get to really understand how much we're going to miss around here for all the stuff she's done off the camera as well. So we're going to miss you. I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you. And I'm glad you're not gone yet. We got a few more weeks of you around. So, folks,
I don't think you're replaceable. So, because people are going to be like standing in for you. So that's what it's going to be.
Well, that's a funny thing. She's not replaceable. So we're actually splitting up her responsibilities into like different jobs, because no one person can just come in and do what Amy Rose did. And that's a true story. Like Dennis and I were talking about, so what are we going to do? Well, let's just face it. Nobody can just step in and do what Amy Rose did. Therefore, we have to split it up. And that's what we're doing. So I'm sure we'll talk about more in the coming weeks. But anyway, folks, that will do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this show, look in the description below and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And most importantly, guys, stop what you're doing. Click the subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. I want to thank, first of all, the people sitting at the table with me, sitting over here, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me at Twitter and Instagram, just at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. I will be in London this Friday, and I'll be screening my film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, at the MCM Comic-Con in London. You can still get your tickets. Saturday is now sold out, so get your tickets for Friday. I believe there's about 50 seats left. So get your tickets. Come down.
Yesterday there were 40 seats left. Have people actually started? Have they started returning their tickets?
No, they actually opened up. They opened up another 30.
Oh, that's awesome.
They opened up another 30 seats on Saturday, and then those sold out. So there's still more on Friday. But yeah, so please come on down, all you UK sweaties is what I like to call you. And I'm going to miss Amy Rose, but I'm very happy that she's going into something that she's been talking about for years since I've known her. She's wanted to do this, so I'm very excited for her to open this chapter. So good luck, Amy Rose.
And of course, the aforementioned Amy Rose Eisenbach. Amy Rose, where can people find you online right now?
At Amy Rosie on Twitter and Instagram. And I'm actually going to be embarking on my first directorial effort when I am on my trip, my first documentary. So I'm really excited to share it with all of you. And maybe we'll do an AMC Movie Talk movie. That feels right, too.
It seems oddly, that would be a horror film. And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me crying about Amy Rose leaving on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys.
And you can find me on the various social media networks, just on Facebook or on Twitter, just at John Campia. That'll do it for us today, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News. Until next time, bye-bye.